All right, everyone. It was funny the other day, NBC News taking quite a pounding because they debunked a story regarding Hunter Biden and his emails and stuff, like a 60-page conspiracy dossier that was floating around, and we can look through it, and the person who claims to compile it doesn't exist, and it's a big LARP, it's a big conspiracy. The problem being, if you actually look into what they debunked, it's a bunch of bullshit that mainly nobody was talking about to begin with. It's sort of like I don't know, the Pissgate era all over again with the idea that Trump had. You remember when 4chan was joking about Trump? The initial Steele dossier said that he had Russian hookers piss in the Obama's bed at Trump Tower. Now, while that never happened, they decided to elaborate on it and started spreading stories about him like he would see Kyle when he peed, and he'd have like Russian hookers watch anime with him and stuff like that. And there were a few people that didn't get the joke and took it seriously. No, it was just really funny. We're seeing the same thing here. This is an Astroturfed story that NBC News dug out of its ass, essentially. I certainly had never heard most auspices of this. What I've been focused on, and what indeed any reasonable person is focusing on at the moment with regards to the Hunter Biden emails, is solely this: Joe Biden's involvement in Hunter's business dealings. If that was happening, if a person with security clearance, with access to the whole upper echelon of politics, is getting large sums of money from a foreign state or a foreign entity in a foreign state, that is a conflict of interest. We just had a brief conversation about how Trump had a bank account in China simply because he owns property there that he's personally divested from in his official capacity to begin with. People act like this is a big problem. Meanwhile, you have at least allegations, and apparently the allegations, they must be true because I'm not seeing any evidence to the contrary with regards to these emails that have been leaked. We have Hunter Biden doing business. He's on an energy board for Burisma. He doesn't have any qualifications. The only seeming qualification he could reasonably have is that he's the vice president's son. The political clout allowed him to get the position, number one. The political clout is what they wanted out of the position, number two. People don't get that sort of money with no qualifications in a foreign country unless there's some sort of shenanigans going on behind the scenes. Hunter Biden was grabbing up money, and Joe Biden necessarily is going to get a cut of that. But you think that he's completely uninvolved. He knew nothing about it. He never spoke to his son Gesundheit about the issue whatsoever. We're supposed to believe that Joe Biden, who by that time at large was a private citizen, never profited a dime, never talked to his son about it. But we know that he talked to his son about it. We have additional corroboration now with Bob Alinsky. I thought it was hysterical that Tucker Carlson's like, well, I lost the hard drive or the USB or whatever with the Hunter Biden stuff on it. And then the other day, I have to make a video about this because Tucker Carlson is now softballing Hunter Biden. Sort of corroborating what I've been saying for a number of years, and I get no credit for it, but I'll talk about that in a separate and slightly funnier video. NBC News has not debunked the main story. And in the context of this story, if you go through like the debunking bullshit, you'll always find, well, we can't corroborate that this material is real. We're not reporting on it because we report on real stuff. Well, how do you know it's not real? Well, we can't confirm it's real. But you haven't tried to confirm it's real. You're not investigating it. Well, that's because it's not real. It's circular reasoning. It's really the reason why they're not investigating. The reason why the only forensic analysis and so forth about this case is going on in the so-called fringe or far-right media, or by independent commentators like me who are willing to talk about it, is because the mainline have all explicitly endorsed Biden. Of course they don't want to talk about it. They don't want it in the news cycle. They don't want it in the news cycle because it becomes dead weight on the Biden campaign. This isn't about journalistic ethics. Journalistic ethics is you've just been handed, allegedly, a laptop or a hard drive or whatever full of information potentially incriminating a presidential candidate. That's a huge story. And if true, it is absolutely damning. But if you're not willing to investigate the veracity of the details, you don't talk to anyone making the allegations, or if you do, you completely hardball them. You don't conduct an analysis of the drive, of the laptop or anything. You don't ask any questions. You don't ask Biden about it even. He's only been asked, I think, once by a lamestream commentator who he then snapped at about this same issue. No shit, you're not going to find evidence of the claims. But the claim has nothing to do with this special dossier alleging that Joe Biden repeatedly went to Beijing to meet with people. There is an allegation outstanding that Hunter Biden was working with them, that he is wrapped up with Chinese individuals. Now, this story also, this is another rabbit hole. How exactly are you debunking it? You're saying that the person who compiled the report isn't actually a person. Have you heard of a pseudonym? Number one. Number two, the videos and the pictures and everything else that we've got on Hunter Biden coming out of this so-called conspiracy nexus are real. They have not been denied by Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the DNC, the Biden campaign, the FBI, or any other sympathetic party. There's a reason that they haven't been denying it, because it's true. And because they know that the people supplying it can absolutely prove that it's true. Analysis of these videos and this audio would prove that they are true. They are real. They're not deep fakes. It's not an actor. It's Hunter Biden doing bad things. Now, Hunter Biden's crack habit or meth smoking, or at least if they're of age, prostitute stuff, I don't care about it. He's not running for office. That part is true. The part that I have a problem with is twofold. The emails showing possible business collusion with several foreign states. We've also heard about Kazakhstan possibly being involved. They have deep-seated Russian ties. I would think that would spook all the liberals, but if they don't hear about it, they can't be spooked by it. Very spooky. It's Halloween. I hope we get a Halloween drop, actually, with like Hunter Biden in a zombie mask with a prostitute or something. I hope that we get something weird like that from Bannon. And number two, the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is what rubs me the wrong way most. I don't want the country led by someone who was a tough-on-crimer in the 90s, led to hundreds of thousands of excessive incarcerations for people who did absolutely nothing wrong, totally victimless crimes like smoking a little grass, dropping a little acid, smoking a little crack even. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden goes on a months-long crack binge with prostitutes, which is also illegal. He's committing multiple felonies. He's probably supplying drugs to other human beings. He's essentially dealing drugs. If he were a normal citizen, if he weren't the vice president's or former vice president / senator's son, he'd be in prison for the rest of his life under the '94 crime bill. Trump would probably be the one letting him out under the First Steps Act. Does anyone see this as problematic within a political context? That's what I have a problem with. I don't care what Hunter Biden does. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think that doing drugs should be illegal at all. And maybe, giving them to young women, it's definitely sleazy. I'm not in favor of it. And on the prostitution issue, I'm not a libertarian purist. It really is more difficult to grapple with because of the inherently abusive nature of the power dynamic involved. That being said, it is illegal now, and excessively so in some respects because of Joe Biden's crime bill. The hypocrisy pisses me off. That's the only thing I really care about at the moment on this. That and the potential that there were China dealings. This particular debunking does not address the main claim with regards to Beijing Biden's dealings through Hunter. It doesn't address the Ukraine issue. It doesn't address allegations of Kazakhstan. Also, it doesn't address, hey, if Joe Biden knew that his son was doing drugs, hiring prostitutes, that he allegedly had inappropriate contact with one of Joe Biden's own fucking underage relatives, don't you think at some point that shows some bad things about Joe Biden's character too? I certainly do. Again, if you, under U.S. law generally, if you have knowledge of a substantial crime and you don't report it, that can be a crime in and of itself. You do realize that, correct? But Joe Biden's the former VP and he's a presidential candidate. By the way, no, I don't believe in locking him up. I didn't want to lock up Hillary Clinton either, despite the obvious nature of her crimes. Once a person's been knocked out of presidential politics, it no longer matters. Of course, if he wins, there's not going to be any closure on the issue. They'll just use the intel agencies to clamp down harder. The FBI apparently is actively investigating Hunter Biden. We're getting new reports that a second laptop was seized pertinent to some celebrity psychiatrist that was involved with Hunter Biden for a while. We're finding out all sorts of weird shit at the 11th hour here. Now, there's only 3 more days till the election, so I'm not sure at this point any further leaks, unless they are truly, absolutely goddamning. I don't think they have a huge impact on the election. That being said, Trump's approval just ticked up steeply to 45 and is apparently rising again, so 11th hour narrowing, just as I predicted. That's about all. Peace out.